Coming to you live from beautiful Mountain View, California, it's Analytics on Air. And now here's the guy who's always full of jolly holiday spirit. Hello, everyone. My name is Alon Gottesman. I am product manager on Data Studio, and really excited to have you guys join us today. I'm going to be speaking about Data Studio. We know that the holiday season is right around the corner, and with it comes all of these exciting marketing activities and big campaigns. So would love to share more about the product and see whether there's, hopefully there's an opportunity for you guys to use Data Studio as your reporting and dashboarding solution. And so what I'll be doing today, a couple of things. One, giving you a demo of Data Studio, walking you through the product from both the viewer perspective and the editor creator perspective. Talk a little bit about sort of context, how Data Studio came to be, like what kind of problems we're trying to solve with Data Studio, and finally answer some of your questions. And so before doing anything else, I figured for people who've never seen Data Studio, like don't know what it's about, just to show what the final product looks like, right? You create a dashboard and you share it. What does that look like for the person who's receiving it, the stakeholder, right? Whether it's a marketer, an executive, a partner, a vendor. How does that work? So why don't we take a look at a report? So we've got this is a demo report here that we created, kind of trying to sort of do a high-level overview of what an AdWords campaign or set of campaigns might look like. And this is, again, at a very high level. We kind of picked some of the top dimensions and metrics that might be used. Our Data Studio AdWords connector has 120 dimensions and metrics, so this is just the tip of the iceberg, but this is for purposes of demonstrations. I want to show you a couple of things, or highlight a couple of things. One, just kind of point out, like the report, we tried to make it kind of themed, kind of like visually pleasing, and so that's something that the product really, that's a focus of the product in general. Secondly, there's a level of interactivity for the product, and that comes through in a couple different ways. One, you can hover over different components, right? And as you hover, you see these pop-ups. That's true of these time series and also of the pie charts down below. And so that's one type of interactivity, just kind of as you move your mouse across. The second is drill downs and filters. This report contains 3 different types that I want to quickly highlight. One is this date range. So right now, the report is set for the last 14 days. But if we switch it to 7 and hit apply, what happens is that Data Studio actually goes to AdWords. You see the report really quickly refreshed. Data Studio went to your AdWords account, to our demo AdWords account, pulled the data into the report and refreshed it in real time. That's true of all 3 of these pull-down menus. So we saw the date range component. That was one way to introduce interactivity. Second one is a filter. So I just selected ad groups. Right now, it's not filtered at all on ad groups. But if I want to say, the all web pages ad group was really important to me, and I was interested in that, I'm going to select it. Once again, Data Studio goes to AdWords, runs the new queries, pulls the data in, and updates the report. So those are 2 types of filters. The third one is actually something we introduced really recently. They're called the data controls. It's this guy over here. And the idea is, right now, this report is linked to a single AdWords account, right? And we'll see that later when we actually set up a report. But what if I love this report? I like the way it looks, but I want to switch from one AdWords account to another. Previously, if you were using Data Studio, you'd need to create a new copy of the report, point it to a new data source. It would require many steps and be harder to do version controlling. With a data control, you're able to, right within the report, to see all the AdWords accounts that you have access to, select a different account, and then we just pull the data from the new account that you select. So let's say I just created a brand new AdWords account, right? And by the way, this supports MCC accounts, which a lot of our bigger clients use. So let's say I have an MCC account. I'm going to click on this. I just created a new sub account. I'm going to select it and hit apply. Because it's a brand new account, it won't have any data in it. If it did, we would see data being pulled into here. And then I could just as easily, go over here, select the default data source, which was the one that was shared with us, and we're back to the view we just saw before. So that's kind of in a few minutes, Data Studio and how it works from the viewer perspective. What I thought we would do is talk a little bit about, give context. Why does Data Studio exist? How it came to be, and what kind of problems, challenges we were trying to solve with the product. So we can jump into the deck. The big challenge overall is that reporting and dashboarding is so important. And it's really challenging, right? Like somehow we still have a hard time getting all the right data into a single place and building beautiful visualizations and then sharing them with the right stakeholders. It's still a challenge, even in 2017. Data Studio was born from within the Google Analytics team, and the GA team said, they had a question, which was, how can we make data more accessible and useful? That was kind of the big, question that we set out to answer a couple of years ago before Data Studio existed. And what we found was that what we did is we went and started talking to a lot of analysts, really tried to understand what is the analytics reporting, dashboarding flow that people follow. And we found that there are many tasks along the way, right? From the very beginning to like report creation and sharing. But those tasks could be rolled up at a high level into 3 buckets. So bucket 1 was data connection. Data for a lot of marketers kind of lives everywhere, right? You've got your data in AdWords, in DoubleClick, maybe in BigQuery, in Sheets, in CSV files, etc. Lots and lots of data sources. And just getting access to that data can be challenging, right? Like the permissions and passwords is a problem, and building kind of infrastructure around it is also challenging. Along the same lines, in the connect button, actually preparing the data, right? Like if you get access to the data, that might not be enough. You may need to do some special ratios, right? Take 2 metrics, divide them by each other, create new dimensions, take a string and can maybe do a substring on some campaign code or something like that. So that was one set of challenges that analysts saw over and over. The second was actually visualizing. So you've got access to your data, you maybe centralize in one place. Building beautiful reports is not easy. Excel and R and Tableau, there's a lot of great solutions out there, but there's oftentimes either a learning curve to kind of get over, or there's maybe a cost associated with it, or visualizations just aren't that beautiful. So we wanted to really make visualizations super powerful. And finally, sharing. Let's say you have your report. How do you actually get it into the hands of your stakeholders? There's so many different ways to go about it. And in fact, a common theme is that for every one of these buckets, there's a ton of different tools to get the job done, right? So to connect to your data, it can be, you may need to download CSVs. You may need to write scripts to, hit APIs. You may need to write SQL queries. Similarly, we talked about visualization. You can use Excel, you can use Tableau, you can use Power BI, R. There's lots of tools out there. And then finally, to share, do you export to PDF? Do you export to a deck? And then once you have that, are you emailing things out? Are you putting it on a shared drive? How do you make sure that new copies of the reports get sent out to your stakeholders on time? A lot of challenges. And so what we wanted to do is kind of solve for all those challenges, all 3 phases, and all the little subtasks within those 3 phases within Data Studio in a single product. And so the Data Studio is designed to connect to your data. And by the way, we'll see all this in a second when I jump into the data, but really, really easily connect to all your data, build those beautiful visualizations, and then share them really powerfully. The idea is you create a report once, It's a live report. Once you share it, you don't need to do it again. So, and again, we'll see that. So yeah, the sort of mission statement for Data Studio is to empower everyone on your team to make better decisions and improve marketing performance. That's kind of the overall mission statement. Again, once we understood that these were the common challenges, we knew that by solving them, we'd be able to really empower analysts, marketers, data scientists. So just want to highlight a couple of different sort of features or kind of highlights of the product. So one, the ability to connect to data sources, and we'll see all the data sources that are available in a moment. But you've got a lot of connectors to Google products. So GA, Google Analytics, AdWords, YouTube Analytics, etc. And also, if your data lives kind of on site, whether it be in CSV files or in SQL servers that you've set up, MySQL servers, etc., you're able to connect to all of those really, really easily. Next, collaboration. We know that reporting doesn't happen. Let's see, reporting doesn't happen, in statically or like by a single individual. A lot of times there's multiple people or entire team that's building reports, and so just like Google Docs and Google Sheets and Decks, everything you do in real time by one user is immediately updated for all other users. So it's a really powerful collaboration tool, and makes reporting a real team activity. And we've got a lot of feedback from people saying, like, this is great, as opposed to having an Excel spreadsheet that's maybe locked and has to be shared and versioned. This could be a big deal. Another thing that we saw, or that we heard a lot of marketers say, is that they don't believe that their data sources are well integrated. So I mentioned before, right? Most marketers have data all over the place, generated from a ton of different tools and systems and products. One thing that Data Studio does is brings all those data sources into a single page or into a single dashboard on multiple pages. You can centralize all your data in one spot and then share it out. That's something that's non-trivial to do, and real strength of the Data Studio product. And yeah, finally, we already talked about this, but creating beautiful reports and really, really personalizing them, making them match the brand, match the season, match the campaign. We put a lot of emphasis on the aesthetics and the visuals of reports. We wanted them to jump and tell beautiful stories, jump off the page. It's something that the product does really well. We are constantly adding more ways to create even richer dashboards, and that's something that we do today. Okay, so I figured we know a little bit about Data Studio. We saw how viewers kind of interact, right? Your stakeholders, your executives open up a Data Studio dashboard and what they can do with it. Wanted to share, kind of walk you guys through how to create a brand new dashboard, because I think that's it's powerful and hopefully easy and intuitive. So jumping back into the screen here, I'm looking at the Data Studio homepage here. And before doing anything else, I want to highlight that up at the top, we have a rail here with some templates. And so you can select any template that you want. Let's say this is a Google Analytics template that might be interesting. And so I select it. Data gets loaded in. And I could use this template as a jumping off point. I could hit this Use Template button and then select a new data source, basically point it to a new GA view or a GA account. And all the data from the new account that I selected is going to get pulled into this template. So it's really powerful, and then it's easy to sort of, once you're sort of started with the template, you can make changes from there. But the aesthetics of the report, the sort of visual themes are all there. So that's really cool, and we have these templates today in place, and more are coming. But let's say we want to create a brand new report. for the purposes of this demo, let's give that a shot. So I'll do that by going to the homepage and hitting this big plus button over here. And we'll wait for we had some Wi-Fi issues a little earlier. I have this open in a different tab as well. Give it another second. Okay, this is the page that's supposed to come up. I was worried that this would happen. So this is a blank canvas, right? And right now we're not able to do anything with it because if we're to draw, any tables, any charts, any scorecards, there's no data that's being sort of piped into the canvas, into the report. And so the very first thing you do once you get your empty canvas is to attach a data source to it. And you can do one of two things. If you've already created data sources in the past, you could use one of those. But for the purposes of this demo, let's create a brand new data source, right? So I'm going to hit this button, create a new data source. And so I'm brought to this page. And on the left side here, we see a set of connectors that we've built. Mentioned earlier, it's a set of both Google products like AdWords, like DCM, DoubleClick for Publishers is something we just launched recently. Sheets and BigQuery is also on the list. Or if your data lives sort of on your side of the world, so if it's CSV files, you could upload those files directly. MySQL or Postgres is also supported. And more connectors are coming that we're developing directly. But we just recently, very, very recently, announced a new third-party connector sort of developer program where third-party developers can create connectors for us, very similar to the apps sort of model, where other individuals or companies can create these connectors, and we've already got a growing set of connectors that we have as launch partners. Some are Google products, others are outside of our ecosystem. So we've got a Facebook ads connector. We have a Bing ads connector. There's a growing list. Reddit. So we've got social things. It's a Twitter. It's a pretty interesting set, and we just announced this recently. So we expect a new wave of connectors to come in. But let's focus on just our connectors here at the top. And for the purposes of this demo, let's use Google Analytics. So I select Google Analytics. I see all the accounts that I have access to as a logged in person right now. So every person who's logged in, when they hit this Google Analytics connector on the left side, they'll see a list of the accounts that they have available to them. And so I, as a logged in user, as Alon, these are the two accounts that I have access to. I'm going to select the Analytics 360 demo account. I see the properties that are available to me. I'm going to hit Google Merchandise Store. And then finally, these are the views that are available to me. And I'm going to select the master view. Sorry, I didn't do that. Right here, master view. I'm going to name this Alon's Google Merch Store GA. All right. So I'm going to connect now. And OK, Data Studio just made a connection with Google Analytics, the particular account and property and view that we selected earlier. And what I was returned is 924 fields for Google Analytics. So it's a very long list of fields, dimensions and metrics that I can now pull into my canvas and report on. And it's a really, really rich set of fields, obviously, and there's so much you can do here. But I just want to highlight, one thing that you can do, one feature you can do is, I mentioned earlier, sort of the data preparation and manipulation aspect of the flow of creating a report. So let's say you need to create a new custom field, right? Let's say there's some certain ratio that you want to create, right? Clicks on, oh, sorry. So I'll call it, Alon's new field. And then I can, over here, select, sorry about that. Clicks divided by, let's say, cost, and let's say this is a, I mean, this is probably a metric that's already existing. That's not the best example, but the point is you can do a whole set of functions, a lot like Excel, define these new fields, and then use them in your reports. But we won't create that. So what we saw is we created this connection to this GA account. What we want to do now is add this data source, as we call it, back to the report. So I'm going to hit Add to Report. It's telling me, like, do you want to take this data source you created, this GA data source, and add it to the blank canvas from before? I'm going to say yes, Add to Report. And now, OK. Now you can see the UI changed. And what I have here is kind of something that hopefully is pretty reminiscent of Google Apps products, right? So we've got these toolbars, these menus at the top, and then this ribbon of components that you can draw right below them. And so what I can do now, I'm plugged into my GA demo account, and I can just start drawing right on the canvas, right? So I select a table, and I draw it here. We send a query to GA and pull in the data. Similarly, I'm going to draw like let's say this map. And I'm going to add, let's say, 2 scorecards, right? So I created 1 scorecard. I'm going to create, oops, I'm going to create, just going to copy and paste, I think. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong. OK, there it goes. OK. So now we've got 2 scorecards here. 3, way too many scorecards. Here we go. OK. And so just like that, we're already starting to put things on the page, right? Within seconds, you've got data. You can start, changing, manipulating, formatting, and there's a lot of depth to any one of these things, but at the same time, it's really easy to do. And so let's talk a little bit about that depth, right? For every single component, every single visualization that you put on the page, if you click on it, there's 2 tabs over here on the right that show up. There's the Data tab and the Style tab. Data is all about what is it that I want to surface inside of this component, inside this table, inside of this map, inside of these scorecards, etc. And I can select the metrics and dimensions that I care about. I can decide how things are sorted. I can decide whether I want things filtered, what date ranges I want. So there's over here a fair amount of customization you can do from the data perspective, right? And then the Style tab, as you might imagine, is all about controlling the look and feel of this particular table. So this is the default look, but there's so many things you can do in terms of colors, fonts, and other effects for every single one of these components. So it's easy to match the look and feel of these components, and then, of course, at a higher level to of the entire report to your brand, to your campaign, to your theme, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so just to give a quick demo here, if I hit Data, and right now I'm seeing sessions by medium, but if I want to change it to, let's say, oh, I don't know, channel, right? I can search because we've got a lot of, we've got 900 fields that we saw earlier to look through. So they're bucketed into different categories, but you can also search. And let's see if there's any data here. I'm just kind of hoping that, yes, there it is. So now we got acquisition channel, and we see how many sessions there were per acquisition channel, right? So it's just as easy as that. And if I wanted to, let's say, maybe say, like, I don't care about just sessions, but I also care about, let's say, cost. Let's say over here. Let's see if there's any cost associated here. No. I don't know what happened there. Oh boy. Well, demo, real-time demo issues. But the idea is, this is a demo account, so it has all sorts of experimental stuff turned on to it. But like in general, it does. It is easy to add metrics and dimensions to the to any component here. I kind of highlighted the idea that you can add interactivity to the report. again, the date range, viewer filters, and data controls. And that's just as simple, right? You can easily, let me just kind of, if I want to drag everything down a little bit, make a little space and have a, oops, sorry about that, date range over here, a viewer filter right there, and a data control next to that, right? And again, like maybe the look and feel of this report isn't great just yet, but it's really easy to change. And now if I was to go to view, I suddenly have like these interactivity elements that are really easy to for your user to interact with. Let's see. Of course, we talked about there's you can add headers. You know, it's let's say this is kind of all the things you might expect. And again, it's really easy to just select an icon, drag, drop, and Alon's holiday dashboard. Okay, and then it's super easy. I want to make it larger, and you know, I don't have any images on this computer, but it'd be just as easy to you know, to add an image over here. Whoops, sorry guys, over here, and then you select a file from your local machines that gets updated, uploaded to the report, and it's shared that way. We also have the ability to, so let's say you see like, this is pretty cool. I like the way this looks, but you know, I want to change the sort of look and feel of the report at a high level. It's easy to do by going to, I believe, oh, I think it's over here. So this is a I didn't select any component, so I've got, oh no, Wi-Fi issues. Okay, we've got the theme for the entire report, and right now it's the simple theme. But if I hit simple dark, you know, the look and feel of the report changes instantly, and we're adding new themes in the coming in the short term. So stay tuned for that. So the idea is, again, start dropping new components. You can really easily sort of tell beautiful stories through Data Studio. You're able to you know, create these great dashboards in as little as 30 minutes, and then share them. And I want to actually point out the sharing. So let's say this is the report that I am happy with. I'm ready to kind of send this out to my stakeholders, right? To my CMO, or to my director, or to my agency, or my client. What Data Studio does is it uses Google Drive and to share. If you use any Google productivity tools like Google Docs and Google Sheets, this should be very, very familiar to you. So if we were to go back into the report, this is like, let's say I'm happy with this. This is my finished report. I just go up to the top, I hit the share the report, and now I'm presented with this dialog. I can put the email addresses of the users that I'd like to share this with. You'll note that you can either share any report with edit permission or view permission. So if this is something that you just want purely for consumption, you select the view option. If this is something you want to share with collaborators or people who might otherwise need to change the report to actually make edits, you know, we saw that graphic earlier showing sort of the real-time collaboration, how that works. You would select can edit. And likewise, if you had advanced, you can change the report so it's available to everyone online, right? If there's suddenly like something that your organization wants to showcase in a blog post or embed into a into a Tumblr or something like that, it's all possible via Data Studio. So those are some of the features that we want to talk about. We did actually, speaking of embedding, we did recently introduce the ability to embed reports. So you'd be able to do that over here. You'd enable the embedding, and then just copy the snippet and embed it into maybe your own portal, again, into blogs and things like that. that's at a high level really sort of what we were trying to do with Data Studio. It's really powerful. It's simple, but there's a lot of depth to it. There's you know, a lot you can do, a lot you can create. Where we've got some sort of that gallery that I showed earlier gives you ideas of how to actually, you know, format reports and the kind of things. It's starting points. It gives ideas on how you can build these reports. And so jumping back into sort of like high level, what is Data Studio and what is it that we want to do? Again, it's across that connect, visualize, and share model, right? You can effortlessly share data stories with your clients. You can make faster decisions. You know, you don't just need to share it with stakeholders. You can use it internally to sort of understand how campaigns are performing or for optimizations. And you can put data, as I didn't demo it, but you can put data from AdWords right next to data in GA. You can have like a understand kind of across, you know, both how my media performed and my site-side experience, how those things interacted, and that helps you make faster decisions, insights, and visually appealing, compelling, you know, stories. Again, through all these beautiful visualizations, and yeah, the collaboration, right? The ability to share it with, you know, your team of analysts, and everyone gets to build the reports together. Oh, and of course, people love Data Studio. I forgot to mention it. I can't, it's a little small here, but yeah, this person really, yeah, was really into Data Studio. So thank you so much, Michael. We love you too. Okay, so Q&A time. Let me see whether we have any questions. We have a few. So, okay, well, Thomas asked, can dashboards be shared by embedding them in a web page? It can be, and I showed that really, really briefly, but that was something that we introduced very recently, like within the last month or so. And the idea is that your report has to be publicly available, publicly shared, but kind of like with the universe, so it's not, it doesn't require anybody to be logged in. Once that happens, you can generate that iframe snippet and embed it into into your web page, into your blog post. We're seeing sort of journalists, data journalists, and data scientists use this feature more and more. So it is something that we've just released. Let's see. Can you add multiple data sources into one report? Why don't I show you how to do that really quickly? I realize that could be a use case that is interesting to a lot of people. So if I jump back into my report, let's say one way to do it would be for me to copy and paste this table, right? So now I have two tables. They're identical. Sorry, I'm just going to do a little bit of formatting. So they're both coming from GA. I can go right here. So I select the table. I go into my data tab, and then under data source, right now we're plugged into Alon's Google Merch Store, which is the thing we created earlier. We could just as easily select this. We click on it, and now we're back to that menu, seeing all the data sources I've created in the past, or I create a brand new data source, right? So I can select AdWords, select this AdWords account. I connect to it. I see all the fields. There's 126 AdWords fields that we can use. And then, let's see, there should be a save button here. I think, again, Wi-Fi issues. But the idea is down here now, it's the same data. OK, the idea is you should be able to save this data source. And just as simple as that, now you'll have two tables. One table is of GA data. The table right underneath is AdWords data on the same page. Again, it tells really, really powerful stories. So that's a really great question. Can you make calculated metrics from different data sources? That really speaks to sort of data blending, right? So you would need to join two data sets together. And that's not something we can do just yet. As you saw, we had two tables right next to each other. But we are working on blending the two basically via joins, right? So today you could do that. You need to do your own steps by maybe pulling the data into BigQuery, doing joins there, and then pulling the data via the BigQuery connector. But we want to save our users those extra steps. And so we will be doing data blending, I think sometime in 2018 is the goal. So be on the lookout for that. And as soon as that happens, then of course you will be able to make calculated metrics across different data sources. Let's see, what else? We got other questions coming in. Is there a URL field type? Can you embed hyperlinks in a report? Okay, so we talked about the embedding. There is a URL. We recently introduced like a URL feature and also like a field type. So any field can be a text or an integer or a date. And so now we have URLs, and you can click on URLs. You can have images as well. So we're, by the way, Data Studio has been around for about 1.5 years, and it's grown a ton over the last year. Really, lots and lots of new features coming on every single week, every single month. So a lot of these things are, if they're not there now, we're kind of aware of it. And in fact, we have a feature request area, like a queue, and you can, we'll include that link in the video. And you can go and either upvote existing feature requests, or if you don't see your feature request, you can ask for it. So invite all our users to check that out. Let's see. There's a question here. Does the recipient of the report need access to the AdWords account that's appearing in the report? And so that's a really good question. And I'll jump back into, the answer is, it depends. It's up to you. So you could share a report and have the data source be configured in a way where if you share it with me, I have to have access to the AdWords account that was linked to it. Or you can say, I'm giving my own credentials to anyone who's viewing the report. You could see that. Let's see, if we go back, we'll see again if our things kind of cooperate today. But if I select this data source, so right here, in the data source, there's a configuration where you can select either owner's credentials or viewer's credentials. If you select owner's credentials, I'm going to share the report and the data source with you. And then as long as I have access to the AdWords data, you will have, as the viewer, you'll have access to the data in the report. If I selected the other option, viewer's credentials, then if it's your report and you share the report with me and it has all this AdWords data, I need access myself to the AdWords data. And so that's, you know, a way to kind of make sure that the data is maybe a little bit more, the reports are a little bit more tied down, and so it's up to the report creator to decide how to configure this. Let's see, we might have time for another 1 or 2 questions. There is a question here about, are there any templates that show Facebook ads, AdWords, and Bing ads on one report? That's an awesome question. So we just, like in the last couple of weeks, introduced the third-party connector ecosystem. And so this is super brand new to us. And we're seeing on Twitter and social media a lot of really cool ways to use all these new connectors and all this data that's available in Data Studio. What we're doing is we're building a gallery right now so that it's really easy for everybody to, we're not the ones who need to create these reports. You know, we're really good at Data Studio, but we may not know every single domain here. So we want to really open it up, make it so that people who create templates can sort of share them and open that up to sort of like the entire community. So not yet, but coming soon. Okay, I'll keep going. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take a tough question here. Why can't I simply export a multi-page report to one PDF file and email it to my client? So that's a really good question. We've heard that request before. 2 thoughts. One, Data Studio, because it's because every report that we create is live, can be refreshed. You know, if you open it the following day, new data is getting pulled in. creating a PDF. It just goes, again, sort of like the culture, the DNA of Data Studio. So we've been hesitant to do this, but there are ways to create this. There's Chrome extensions that actually go page by page and stitch together all the PDFs. So there are solutions out there. We know that this is a big request, and we're going to do it. It's something that we know that people are interested in. So it's in the works. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else here. There's a question wondering if labels from AdWords will be coming as a dimension in Data Studio. For some of these, I don't have an answer specifically for the labels, but I will talk to just general sort of fields, new fields requests in different connectors. We get a lot of DoubleClick Campaign Manager and AdWords usage, and those systems are enormous. So there's a lot of fields that are in the connector, but some that are not. So sometimes we have to work with the AdWords teams, the DoubleClick teams, whatever, in order to pull that data in. And depending on how the systems are configured, that may or may not be possible. But also sometimes we just don't know about which fields. We don't hear enough about, oh, we need this field X or field Y. And so I'll encourage you to go back to that feature request list, and if it's there, upvote it, have your friends upvote it. And if it's not, then please enter it there. And we'd love to know about it. It helps us prioritize and figure out what to add to the product, what to add to the connectors. Okay, I think those are all the questions, and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again so much for joining this Data Studio crash course. Really excited for you guys to use the product. Looking forward to your feedback. And yeah, have a great holiday season. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.